And then he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills.
I can't catch a break, guys.
Yeah.
Get them the fuck away from me. I can't be around those guys.
People think, oh, well, cleaning your room, that's just a cliche. It's like, yeah, really, eh? Just go ahead and try it.
If people had any idea how powerful sleep is for healing from anything, and the fact that it's free.
My mind is absolutely bulletproof, solid as a rock.
Podcast. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Fighting Fit Show. Today we are joined by Jordan Syatt. Welcome, Jordan.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, very welcome, bro. Thanks for taking the time to come on. If anyone doesn't know a little bit about Jordan, Jordan is actually a 5-time world record powerlifter. You kind of spent a little bit of time at Westside Barbell with the legendary Louis Simmons. Had the Westside versus the World documentary on Netflix.
Yeah.
I know you're also a big Harry Potter fan, a student of BJJ. You were Gary Vaynerchuk's PT for 3 years. As well as anything else you don't want to add to that list, Jordan? Who is Jordan Syatt?
I think that's a pretty good list. I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah, that's just Jordan in a nutshell.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
Cool. So come here. What was it that got you into the health and fitness industry, Jordan? I know you got in pretty young, around about 14.
Yeah, so I got my first internship coaching job when I was 14 because I started wrestling when I was 8 years old, and I had to cut a lot of weight. So I started at 8 years old. I made varsity as a freshman in high school. And I had to I was good from a technique perspective. I was good from an endurance perspective. But strength-wise, I was 14 years old going up against 17, 18-year-old kids. So I figured I got to figure out how to lose weight and get stronger in order to be competitive. So I applied to a gym near me, and I was like, I'll take the trash out. I'll clean the floors. Like, let me just come and intern. And they took me under their wing, and they were very, very science-based. So I really got thrust into the science-based world at a very young age. I worked there all through high school. And then my first client there was a 68-year-old guy named Fred. And literally his only goal was to be able to pick his grandson up without hurting his shoulders. So at a young age, I learned not only great coaching strategies and anatomy and physiology and program design, but I think the most important part is I learned there's more than one goal that people might have. It's not just about looking good naked. There are many reasons why people train, and that's why I fell in love with coaching.
Amazing stuff. Cool. Yeah, and just to touch on your experience with wrestling and making weight, obviously kind of myself and my brothers who are also coaches at my studio, we've all kind of competed in boxing over the years, and that has been a big part of my journey as well, kind of the whole having the cut weight, make weight for boxing. And it has also been something that's really kind of a few years back, helped me pick up a lot of kind of maybe bad habits. Tell us a little bit about your experience around kind of maybe cutting weight and kind of how that affected you kind of in your teens.
Oh, man, that destroyed my relationship with food really early on. It, anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder, like all like really bad stuff. The thing about with wrestling is I eventually went on to powerlifting, and I was fine with powerlifting because in powerlifting, you only compete once every, 4-6 months or so in order to really like keep building up strength. Especially with wrestling, you have an entire season in which the whole season is just keep your weight as low as you possibly can. And then basically the only time that you can really eat a lot is after you weigh in for a competition. So you binge eat, then you binge restrict for 4 to 6 months at a time for years in a row. So it was awful. Yeah,
no, definitely, man. It's kind of similar to my experience. Kind of got stuck in this mindset that I feel maybe a lot of people are in today, where maybe you're training only to lose weight rather than training for performance.
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it. And not to mention, I think there's just there's no education on what's right and what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what's healthy, what's unhealthy, especially at that age in that environment. It's really just do whatever you need to do in order to make weight. And you're surrounded by kids. You make varsity. Varsity is like the pinnacle of high school, right? It's like I'm carrying the weight of the school on my shoulders. I have like my high school crush is watching. Like all my teammates are depending on me. It's like I wouldn't eat for 2 days in a row just to make weight. It's like it was that important.
Yeah, no, big time. Yeah, I was a similar experience. Kind of one night before I was competing, I think I lost 4 kilograms or 8-9 pounds, overnight. Kind of draining myself, fasting. You know what I mean? No salt, no carbs, all the old school tricks just to try and get that weight down, running with a sweatsuit on.
Yeah. I remember one time I was really sick. I was very, very sick and I couldn't compete. And I texted my coach the night before. I was like, I'm not going to be able to weigh in. Like, I'm not even going to go to school. I'm really sick. And if you don't go to school, you can't compete. And he was like, okay, no worries. We'll have Evan, who is the backup. We'll have him weigh in and he'll compete. And Evan went in and he didn't make weight. And so then my coach texted me. He was like, you got to get to school. And I was so sick. And looking back, my coach was an idiot, like really not a good guy. Like, I don't know how, probably late 20s, early 30s, but I was a 14-year-old kid. And he's like, you got to go to school so you can compete. And I was super sick. And I was a very young, impressionable kid. So I like forced myself to get up, went to school, and I like checked into my homeroom, like to my first class of the day. So I was marked as attended. But then I spent the entire day running stairs with sweatshirts and sweatpants on. And I lost 7 pounds in a day just so I could compete. And I was deathly sick. It was awful.
Yeah.
It was like really stupid stuff.
Yeah, did you kind of say combat sports are kind of left a little bit in the Stone Age, kind of when it comes to a lot of stuff like this? Like I remember when we were teenagers, kind of going out to compete for kind of, like provincial and national tournaments, it would be commonplace to see, 11, 12, 13-year-olds skipping with black bags on, trying to make weight,
Yeah, it's insane.
So what would you kind of say? What would kind of say maybe your top advice for maybe anyone who's maybe experiencing something like that right now, or anyone who's only training for weight loss, or maybe they're missing out on maybe the beauty of training for strength and performance, and kind of missing out on all that?
I definitely have to make the distinction between someone who's solely going for fat loss and then someone who's like trying to make weight for a competition, right? It's two so different things. It's like on one hand, someone who's trying to make weight for a competition, they know it's not healthy, right? They are very well aware it's not healthy. It's like they're doing it because they want to win. The person who's solely focused on weight loss all the time, I think it's important to say it's not bad to want to lose weight. But with that being said, usually when you shift your focus from solely wanting to lose weight to, well, I want to get stronger, to improve my performance, to be a better individual. When you focus more on the things that you can add to your life rather than the things you can take away, oftentimes you'll achieve both at the same time. You'll lose weight, you'll get stronger, you'll get more defined, you'll improve your conditioning. But when you're solely focusing on trying to take things away, it's a very inherently negative mindset versus, well, how can I get stronger? How can I lift more weight? How can I do more chin-ups? How can I do more push-ups? How can I get better at jump rope? Whatever it is. Now you're focusing on things that are going to make you better, fueling yourself properly, and then usually weight loss will come with that.
Amazing stuff. Cool. And I heard in one of your recent videos that you've broken the cycle of kind of the whole binge purging, the whole lot. Maybe you said I think it was over 10 years since your last kind of incident. What was kind of the defining moment for you? Kind of what was the thing that really helped you kind of break the cycle?
So what happened was I started intermittent fasting when I was 17 years old, on the advice of one of my other wrestling coaches, who I actually do like a lot. He's a good man. And intermittent fasting is okay. It's fine. It's not inherently bad. But if you are more prone to binge eating, it's a very bad idea to do intermittent fasting. Because usually what will happen is, with someone who likes to binge eat, what they'll do is they'll save up their calories for the end of the day, and then they'll have one massive meal, eat as much as they possibly can, and usually it's way more than they should be eating, and then go to bed, restrict all day, and repeat the following night. That's essentially intermittent fasting, and it gets you into that cycle. So you'll see people saving their calories, not eating, boom, binge. And so that's what I did, and it persisted from basically 17 to about 20, 21 years old. And I remember I was in college, and I went back to my mom's place for a vacation, and I was just sick of it. I was just super frustrated and upset with, I wouldn't allow myself to go out to have ice cream with my friends because I was too nervous that I would have ice cream. But then I would stay at home and I'd binge eat at midnight, and I'd eat way more calories than if I just went and had ice cream with my friends. And I was like, why am I doing this? So I vividly remember I went into my mom's bathroom and I looked myself in the mirror, and I was like, I'm not going to intermittent fast anymore. And it sounds almost ridiculous to say. It's like, well, cool. Why don't you just have breakfast? At that point in time, the idea of breakfast scared the hell out of me. Like it was, I had been told and brainwashed into thinking that breakfast was bad for you, that intermittent fasting was ideal. It was optimal. So I remember I was like, I have to eat breakfast now, because I realized that not eating breakfast was causing my mind to then save up more calories so I could eat more at night. And the hardest thing for me to do was eat breakfast, but it was the most important thing for me to do at that time. So I started eating breakfast, and ever since then, it was a great mental shift.
Excellent, cool. Yeah, so kind of maybe the keystone habit of kind of getting that breakfast, that was kind of maybe positively impacted in the rest of the day.
Absolutely. Get a nice big breakfast in. And listen, there's nothing inherently special about breakfast, because there are going to be some people, well, breakfast doesn't, it doesn't mean breakfast is magical. It doesn't boost your metabolism. It's solely from the improving your relationship with food. If you are someone who struggles with binge eating, don't save all your calories for night. Make sure you have some earlier in the day, because then it removes oftentimes that impulsive desire to binge later.
Cool. Yeah. So it's just kind of that thing. Everyone's a little bit different. Kind of do what works for you. Kind of find the approach that works best for you.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Excellent. And I know you've done a lot of wrestling. Obviously, when you were younger, you're big into BJJ now. I heard as well that you've been doing a little bit of boxing in the past as well. Kind of
Yep.
what is the attraction of kind of combat sports for you? Like, what do you get out of it?
It's a really good question, and I'm not really sure 100% the answer, but I'm a small guy, right? I'm 5'4", 145, 150 pounds. Like, I'm not like, when people see me on the street, I'm not like intimidating at all.
Yeah.
And looking at everything I've done over my life in terms of wrestling, boxing, jujitsu, deadlifting 4 times my body weight, like, I've been drawn to things that allow me to reach a high level of performance and strength and dominance. And I think a lot of that stems from, being in the society and culture that we're in. Like, being a small guy is oftentimes looked down upon. Oh, you're small, you're weak, you're whatever. And I didn't ever like feeling like I couldn't defend myself, protect myself, or hold my own. So I think I was drawn to things that would allow me to do that. And very fortunately, I think I had a knack for them. I was good at them. We tend to enjoy the things we like and dislike the things we're not good at. Or we enjoy the things we're good at and dislike the things we're not good at.
Yeah.
And so very fortunately, I was good at them and I enjoyed them. If I had tried yoga, I probably would have stopped very quickly, because I hate yoga and I'm not really good at it. But I'm good at wrestling. I'm athletic, hand-eye coordination, same with boxing. And I just like pushing myself on that level. But I think, if I'm going to be very honest, it's that I don't like the idea of not being able to defend myself. And I don't like the idea of that being an issue in any scenario.
Cool. And then like the aspect of, say, maybe the competitiveness of, I know you kind of had a great wrestling career, and obviously BJJ kind of competitions, that kind of stuff. For me anyway, I was talking about with John on our last podcast, and kind of he's a boxer, and kind of talking about this kind of pre-fight anxiety and how maybe boxing and these kind of combat sports can really kind of help you kind of face your demons, face your anxieties, and maybe overcome them. Is that something that you've experienced?
Yeah, without question, very much so. I think it's the habit of overcoming something difficult that you ingrain within yourself. It's that you make it a habit, you make it a skill, you do it over and over and over again, and you can carry that over to other aspects of your life.
Amazing. Yeah, when I just touched on that, you said you've deadlifted 4 times your body weight. You've got a couple of world records, which is really impressive. Tell us a little bit about your time working with Louis Simmons at Westside Barbell.
Man, it was crazy. Louis is like a father to me. He's incredible. I'll say this, in the 3 months plus that I was there, I added over 300 pounds to my total, which is outrageous. That's just an insane amount of strength gain in a relatively brief period.
Was that 3 months?
3 months.
Wow.
Yep. And I wasn't a newbie either. Like, I wasn't brand new to lifting. I had already deadlifted 3 times my body weight. Like, it wasn't like, oh wow, like he took him from nothing to intermediate. It was like, it was pretty damn significant. It was without question the hardest training I've ever done in my life. I trained 11 times a week. So we went Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. We had 2 sessions per day. And then Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, we had 1 session per day. And Louis was just incredibly kind and generous. He took me out to breakfast and lunch every day. Westside is an invite-only gym. It's not a gym that anyone can go to. It's not a gym that you just show up, or it's not like you have a membership card. The only way you get the address and are allowed to go is if you're invited there. So I was very fortunate to have Louis take me under his wing and really show me the science and practice of strength and conditioning.
Oh, and any kind of major tips maybe for anyone who's into kind of powerlifting or strength training now? Kind of ending maybe any takeaways, like just train hard, train consistently, train twice a day.
Well, it's interesting. I think my time there was perfectly timed in that if I had stayed there and kept up that intensity and frequency, I think I would have beat my body down. And I mean, you can look at Louis, you can look at a lot of the lifters who are there. Their bodies are broken. It's not meant to be done for a long, long, long period of time. And Louis will be the first to tell you he'll die in the gym. He loves lifting heavy. It's what his heart is all about. Like that's what he loves more than anything. So it's worth it to him. If I was going to give a tip to someone, especially based on a lot of the stuff that I learned, I would say, I think here's a good one. This is going towards like training intensity. One of the more common questions, and Dave Tate speaks about this all the time. He's always like, one of the more common questions he gets is to the effect of, well, if I could train at Westside, then I would be that strong, right? Because Westside has the strongest lifters in the world. And so it's not even a question. People are like, well, if I could train there, of course I'd be that strong. And Dave Tate would always be like, well, if you would get that strong if you were at Westside, then why can't you get that strong when you're at home? Why can't you get that strong at your gym? Why is your training intensity predicated on being somewhere else? Yeah. It's like, if you are really that kind of an individual, if you're really that intense of an individual, if you're really that hard of a worker, doesn't matter if you're at Westside or not, doesn't matter where you are, you're going to put in the work. And so a lot of people will look at Westside on YouTube or videos and be like, oh man, if I trained there, I'd be that strong. It's like, so take that intensity and bring it to where you are, if that's really the kind of person that you are.
Yeah, so it kind of really boils down to intensity and kind of how hard are you really pushing yourself, how much are you leaving in the tank?
Absolutely.
Would you say it's something to do with maybe what I took note of there was this whole kind of concept of success breeds success, and being around these beasts and these animals, like there's no option to slack. Like you couldn't slack around these people.
I mean, there's no question that environment is a huge part of success in terms of you surround yourself with people who are stronger than you, faster than you, better than you, like you're going to get better as long as you don't quit, because it's going to push you to be better. If you surround yourself with people who are satisfied with the status quo and they're not much of a go-getter, then you're going to be around that and you're probably going to take up a lot of those habits. So clearly it's clear in the research as well. Like this isn't just anecdote. Like you can see very clearly in the literature that your environment, your surroundings, the people around you massively dictate or can predict what you're going to end up like as well. So I think I'll never forget when one of my first days at Westside, Brandon Lilly? No. One of the strongest guys in the world, a real scary human being, like at least probably 6'4", 6'5", 280, 300 pounds, just huge beast of a man. And I was taking a safety squat bar max, close stance, low box squat, max effort repetition. And I was working up to more weight than I'd ever squatted, period. Never mind safety squat bar, close stance, low box. Like it was the complete most, it was outrageous. And I was about 127, 130 pounds at the time. And they put 275 pounds on the bar. And it was more than I'd ever squatted at that point in my life. And I was like, there's no way that's coming up. I was like, I haven't squatted that in the best of conditions, never mind safety squat bar, close stance, low box. Yeah. And Louis was like, get the fuck under the bar. And I was like, all right. And I remember I got under and I was in the monolift and I felt it. And like, when you get under a heavy bar, it's just, you feel it pressing into your back and you're like, oh my God, like there's no way. And I took it down. I was going down. And Brandon Lilly, he came up right in front of my face. Like literally, if he reached out, he could have touched me. He can't. And this guy's tattooed head to toe, massive, just like he looks like a freaking bear. And he screams the loudest I've ever heard anybody scream in my life. He was like, get the fuck up. And I legit thought this guy was going to kill me. And I squatted it and I got back up. And I remember just being in shock. I was like, I can't believe that weight just came up. And it was a good squat. Like it went all the way down, touched the box, all the way back up. But yeah, man, environment can be massively, massively influence how you train and how you perceive things and how hard you're willing to push.
Yeah, big time. It's something that David Goggins talks about a lot as well, is this whole kind of concept. When you think you're done, you're only at 40%. There's still a lot more in the tank. Right. if you really wanted to push yourself. Another kind of really what would you say, famous person that you've been associated with is obviously Gary Vaynerchuk. You're his personal trainer for 3 years. How did you get into that?
So I started making content in 2011. I just started writing for my website in 2011, long before I ever knew who Gary was, or Instagram didn't even exist then. I started it while I was training at Westside, just so I could write about what I was learning and what my training was like. And I didn't know a business was possible. I didn't know PayPal existed. I didn't know people would pay me for coaching online. Like, wasn't a thing then. So I was just writing articles and everything. And it just so happened that one of the articles that I wrote was seen by someone who at the time was living in Chicago. They were an accountant in Chicago. Through a crazy chain of events, that article, the guy who saw that article years later moved to New York. He became Gary's coach, and his name is Mike Vacanti. And then after his time was up with Gary was like, who's going to coach me next? And Mike was like, I think I know a guy. And it was all because he started following me from an article I wrote in 2012, wow, which was based around improving your posture. And Gary had a lot of postural issues, a lot of knee, hip, back, neck pain, shoulder issues, serious shoulder issues. And Mike followed me ever since 2012 because of that one article. And then he just recommended me after that.
Wow. And then any kind of big takeaways? Obviously, he's a beast in the business world. Obviously you've a huge following, over 600,000 on Instagram, over 100,000 on YouTube. Would you kind of credit him for any of that success? Is it stuff you've learned off him, or any other key takeaways?
Gary is incredible, and I love him to death, and he's like family to me. I credit with him a lot. I credit him with a lot of what I've done. I credit him in the same way that I would credit Louis, for example. Louis didn't deadlift 4 times his body weight. Like, he didn't get me to do that, right? It was teaching me principles. It was and teaching me what to do and helping me with technique. But it was me who put in the effort, right? So Gary, really, what Gary did more than anything, and I'll tell you a story. I remember one morning, we had just got off a plane. It was 2 a.m. Gary, his videographer, D-Rock, and myself got off the plane. We were walking in the airport, and Gary just comes up right next to me, and he goes, because I was on my phone. It was 2 a.m. We're walking to the airport. And I'm just like doing this, like on Instagram, because I was posting 3 times a day, every day on Instagram, and that's when my audience really went from 5,000 up to over 200,000 in the span of a year. Oh. And he was like, "Let me ask you a question." He was like, "How much harder do you work now than you did before you started coaching me?" And keeping in mind, I had a business before I started coaching Gary. I was working online. I was living in Israel, like on the beach. Like, I was doing well, and I thought that I was working hard. But when I saw how hard Gary worked, then I was like, I'm really not working that hard. Yeah. And I told Gary, I was like, I'm working so much harder now than I've ever worked in my entire life. And it was a direct result of seeing what Gary does. Seeing how hard he works, seeing how hard he pushes himself, seeing how much time he actually spends on social media. And so all of the hard work that I put in, all of the time, all the effort, all the learning, like that, in the same way that I will never, ever take credit for one of my clients' results, I will also take that as like, I put in that work. But it is absolutely without question as a direct result of seeing how hard he worked and me directly applying that, in the same way me seeing how hard Louis lifts at 70 years old, deadlifting over 700 pounds. Like, seeing that, I'm like, okay, well, what's my excuse? If I really want to do this, then I really have to work. So it's all of my success wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for what I learned from seeing these other people. But I also know it wouldn't have been possible if I saw all of that stuff, but didn't take action as a result of it.
Yeah, big time. And I know you kind of have your online, your inner circle, and you seem to have a great habit of kind of getting yourself around these kind of successful people that maybe kind of push to the next level, and kind of I'm not sure if you read the book Think and Grow Rich, this kind of concept of the mastermind and this kind of stuff. Is that something that you're kind of into, or would you say that's part of your success?
What specifically?
So kind of getting around kind of people who are kind of maybe living on the level that you want to live, and absolutely kind of the core of, like, say, your inner circle, bringing people together, and then the law of synergy, everyone comes together and achieves more.
Absolutely. And I've never read that book. I've seen it get amazing reviews and people speak very highly of it. but from a very young age, I've been incredibly fortunate to surround myself with people who are exponentially better than me in literally every way. And I think that's helped me become a better person, have a better mindset, be more patient, be stronger, be more independent. So yeah, absolutely.
Big time, cool. Yeah, so I actually watched some of your YouTube videos there recently. I seen you done one video, one Big Mac a day for 30 days, and you lost 7 pounds. Kind of, what was your thinking behind that video? What were you maybe trying to get across to your audience?
Yeah, so for me, the biggest thing is there's a lot. Number one, there's a lot of misinformation around food and weight loss specifically. But I think more importantly, I see a lot of people having guilt around food, right? They have a slice of pizza at their daughter's birthday party and they freak out. They have a slice of cake at their nephew's graduation ceremony and they feel guilty about it. And then from there, once they have that guilt, they end up saying they screwed up their diet and they quit and then they binge and then this is the yo-yo cycle, right? Where they're doing well. They have one slice of pizza at their daughter's birthday party, feel like a failure because they had a freaking slice of pizza, and then they end up going this binge cycle. And I was like, this has to stop. This is ridiculous. So what I did was I wanted to do this for years, but I didn't have a videographer, and I'm glad that I waited until I had my videographer Rico because he did a tremendous job with it. But basically, I think everyone sort of looks at McDonald's as the pinnacle of unhealthy food. And like, especially like the Big Mac is like that's got to be the worst kind of food for you. That and Twinkies are like the two really, really bad ones. And so I was like, I'm going to eat one Big Mac every single day, and not just a Big Mac. I'll eat one Big Mac in addition to my diet as a whole, and I'll lose weight while doing it to show you that you can include your favorite foods in moderation while continuing to lose weight and be healthy. And the whole purpose of this wasn't to say that Big Macs are healthy, because they're not. It's not to say that McDonald's is the pinnacle of health, because it's not. And I'm not encouraging anybody to eat McDonald's or Big Macs every day. All I'm saying is you can include your favorite foods on a regular basis and still make progress as long as you don't quit.
Yeah, I think it's this kind of concept of let's stop focusing on the single foods and let's start looking at your day or your week as a whole, rather than being so obsessed with, is a Big Mac good for me?
That's 100% right. That's exactly it.
And then I also just watched the Carnivore video earlier on today, which was very good. Again, I actually took note of myself. I was like, if you're going to do, like, say, a diet experiment video, this is how it's done. It was very, very good.
Thank you, man.
So what did you get out of that experience? I know maybe your digestive issues and stuff weren't the best.
Yeah, the digestion was really a torturous experience on that part. I got a lot from that. I would say, yeah, I mean, I got a lot from it, both learning from a nutrition and coaching perspective, but also from like a business perspective as well. And what I mean by that is every time I've done a challenge, I've gotten hate, like especially at the beginning of it. And I have close friends who do the carnivore diet. I have close friends who are strong proponents of the carnivore diet. And it's been interesting. When I first started making content, I went really hard on like really just saying exactly what I believed, saying it as it is. Number one, because it's true. And number two is because I had nothing to lose. There was a period of time where, as I started to grow in audience size and more eyes started to see me, I started to get nervous and anxious about putting myself out there too much, in terms of, if I go too hard against this one thing, I'm going to get attacked. And it was just like, it's inevitable. But I think really over the last 3 to 6 months, I've become much more confident, sort of going back to my original self when I first started, like that I have nothing to lose mindset.
Yeah.
And just being like, listen, I'm just going to say the truth as though I have nothing to lose. Because what I realized over the time that I really tried not to step on too many toes is I created more anxiety for myself and I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve. And so I think one of the best things for me as an individual with that video was, I knew from the outset people were going to be really mad that I did that video, and people were going to be very upset with me about it. But I knew it was the truth, and I knew I had to do it in order to do what I knew was right. So I think that video for me was a huge stepping stone, a huge milestone for many aspects, in terms of giving the truth and teaching people about nutrition and all of that, but also for me as an individual, saying you have to do what you know is right, even when it's scary.
Yeah. And from my knowledge anyway, I kind of became aware of the carnivore diet. I think it was mostly Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan is kind of where I kind of really picked it up. Obviously for anyone who doesn't know, it's kind of basically what you only eat meat, eggs, a small amount of dairy, not much else. It's basically a zero carb diet. Well, one of the kind of surprising benefits you did have was you did say you had an increase in mental clarity or mental focus. Was that something that you anticipated going in? Because obviously I've been doing a little bit of research. I even kind of joined a Facebook group with a load of carnivores, and they can be a little bit crazy. But it is very interesting. Some people really do love it. Were you surprised to see any benefits at all come out of it?
I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked because I've had ADD my whole life. And I've always been all over the place. And I've just always thought, like, that's just my normal. That's just what I'm like. And it was very odd for me to have a, like, laser focus, just, like, not really going all over the place, not rambling, just very easy for me to sit down and focus and get something done. I'd never experienced that before. It was very odd. And that being said, I measured 5 things. I measured my blood pressure, my weight, my mental focus and clarity, my energy performance, and my digestion, and 4 of those things went to shit, and 1 of them did well. So I was like, okay, I'm more than happy to sacrifice my mental clarity and focus to make sure these other 4 things are great. So, and not to mention, just I like carbs. Literally, I have a bowl of popcorn as we're doing it. Like, I just like carbs. I'm not going to give them up. Like, I enjoy them.
And what do you think the kind of mental clarity came from? Obviously, kind of from my perspective, I'd say like first thing that kind of comes to mind would be obviously maybe the ketones. Kind of this is a similar effect that people say they get from, say, a ketogenic diet. But from my perspective, I think you probably get the best of both worlds from doing some form of intermittent fasting, where you're going to elevate the level of ketones in your blood. Is that something you've ever kind of maybe tracked, or considering you got such a benefit from it, would it be something that you'd like to maybe experiment with in the future? I know you can get exogenous ketones, all this kind of stuff.
You know, it very well might be something I dig into in the future. I have a number of other challenges lined up that I want to go through first. It is interesting to me, and it is something I would like to dig into deeper. See if there's a way. What really interests me, to be frank with you, is to see if there's a way to replicate that without completely eliminating carbs. To see if there's a way to get that mental focus and clarity without destroying my digestion, without completely eliminating carbs, seeing if there's a way to do it a little bit more balanced. And I very well might try and design a challenge based around that for sure. Because I think it would be worthwhile and actually very beneficial for people.
Cool. I guess, and I said, I know there is a supplement you get called exogenous ketones, where you basically just drink them. I kind of experimented with them kind of with some endurance training a while back. They're pretty decent. They are quite expensive, but it's something maybe worth looking into.
Oh, did that help you? Did you like those?
Yeah, big time. I thought from endurance perspective, I thought it definitely was pretty useful. You know, I was again, I was a low carber back in the day, kind of because, again, I was just obsessed with losing as much weight as possible. And kind of when I stood in the scales with a low carb diet, when I was glycogen depleted and, my body wasn't holding on to water, I was always, 2 or 3 pounds lighter than normal. So I thought lighter is better. So I kind of stuck with that for a while. And obviously, as I maybe transitioned towards kind of more flexible diet approach, but I still really do like things like intermittent fast and stuff. And I, don't like to be having to eat, 3, 4, 5 times a day. If you're not hungry in the morning, it's like, it's not a big deal. There's nothing magic about breakfast. It's kind of do what suits you. The key is, it's like, don't just do it because you think this is the quickest path to results. And I feel like maybe that's I'm sure one of your fears with the carnivore diet, and something I see maybe in that Facebook group I've infiltrated is, people aren't necessarily doing it for what it's recommended for by Jordan Peterson, these kind of people, as an elimination diet. It's like a really severe elimination diet. These people are doing it because they think I'm going to lose 100 pounds in 3 months or something,
That's exactly right. 100%.
Good. Listen, before I ask my last question, kind of where's the best place for people to find you, get in touch with you, kind of follow you?
People can find me on Instagram or YouTube, or if they Google my name, Jordan Syatt, Syatt, you'll find my podcast, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. Cool.
Happy days. And then obviously, listen, the last question is obviously at the minute, it's a little bit of a crazy time. I'm sure that's the first time you've heard that. I think I heard on the James Smith podcast, you're home in Boston now. You're usually living in New York. You went home to Boston to spend time with your mom. What advice would you have for anybody maybe who's struggling now? Kind of maybe they're the kind of type of person who wants to stay on top of their fitness goals, but maybe they're struggling with everything that's going on. Kind of what advice would you give to them? I think maybe anxiety and stuff is a big factor for people right now. Any tips for people?
Yeah, I would say do what I did in terms of you have to make a schedule. I just have it like a written out, handwritten, a schedule every day. I think one of the things that people are really struggling with right now is their entire normal schedule is ruined. They don't have the maybe wake up every day at a certain time and either go to the gym or go to work or whatever it is. And a lot of anxiety will stem from ambiguity when you don't have a definitive schedule. So what I think you should do is take some time today to handwrite a schedule, what time you're going to wake up every day, what time you're going to work out every day. And if that's it, if that's all you do, that's it. You're productive. You've done something. But have a clear, definitive time. This is when you wake up. This is when you work out. And a workout could be a 15-minute walk. If that's what you need for a certain day, great. But make time to work out and make time to get up. And if you want, also make time to go to bed. A specific wake up time, workout time, bedtime. At least have that block of time scheduled, because if nothing else, it's going to reduce the ambiguity, reduce the anxiety, and keep you on some semblance of a program. Excellent.
That's something I kind of talk about with our clients about a little bit. We kind of call it, design your perfect day. And again, the key thing to remember about it is, I think is, it's not a prison. The day doesn't have to look exactly like this just because you're written on a piece of paper. It's going to just give you a little bit of structure, a little bit of direction, and maybe when you're maybe lost in the moment and kind of what next, where to, you have a little bit of focus, something to guide you along the journey. 100%.
I love that.
Excellent, Jordan. Listen, well, thank you very much for coming on. We really, really appreciate it. I was surprised to even hear back from you. So genuinely, thanks a million for coming on. Hopefully we can get you on at some point in the future.
Man, it was a pleasure coming on. You're a great host. I would love to come on another time.
Thank you very much, Jordan. Really appreciate it. See you in the next one.
Have a good one.